You're listening to Experience Imagination, a themed entertainment design podcast presented by Falcon's Creative Group. Every episode, we discuss a new topic with a panel of creative professionals. Hi, I'm Cecil McPuri, President and Chief Creative Officer of Falcons.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another special event episode of Experience Imagination. Today, I am joined in the studio by Rick Morris, the Director of Sound for Falcons. Hi Rick.
Hey Abhinav.
Rick is normally behind the scenes helping us produce our other podcast episodes, but this time we are putting him in front of the mic to talk about a very special presentation that you are about to hear. Rick, you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. InfoComm is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, audiovisual trade shows in the United States.
Right.
It alternates between Orlando and Las Vegas usually. And it's one of my favorite shows anyway. I go every year because it's just the new technology that's out for recording and for lighting, all kinds of things. It's just a really cool show to be around.
Absolutely.
And it was really an honor to actually be asked to be a special presenter because they have special workshops and educational presentations and that kind of thing.
So what was the title of your presentation that we are about to hear?
That title was Storytelling with Sound for Attractions.
Sounds awesome. So let's go ahead and jump into the recording of your live presentation. This was recorded earlier this year. It's 2019 at the time of recording. And we'll circle back with you at the end for some closing thoughts.
Sounds good. So it wasn't very long ago that sound was almost more of an afterthought. In film, television, theme parks, it wasn't thought of much. And somebody would say, hey, don't we need audio for this? And it's like, yeah, do you know somebody? But recently, since attractions and everything have gotten so much more immersive, and it's become such a huge demand that sound also follow that. And we're talking, you've been in some of the theaters with Atmos where the sound is above you, all around you. It's becoming very important that sound becomes really immersive. So what I wanted to cover is some of the elements that kind of go into that help steer your emotions and help steer the story. So we all know that music plays a very powerful role and is probably the most powerful element in creating emotion. But I want to focus on something that a lot of times isn't as much thought of, and it's the sound effects, the sound design, backgrounds especially. And what backgrounds are, just to explain, the way feature films are broken up because they have to be done pretty quickly, other than animated films, which take about 5 years. But live action films are more done very quickly over months, not over years. So the sound editing at the end, the post-production has to be broken down into categories. And those categories can be backgrounds, weapons, vehicles, dialogue, Foley, sound design, and much more, music and more. So what backgrounds is all of your environments. That can be the birds, it can be wind, it can be ocean sounds, it can be traffic, and it's all the things that recreate the environment. And the reason they have to do that is because the production mixer, when he's actually doing the sound on the set, he's trying to get rid of all backgrounds and make sure that the dialogue is as clean as possible. And then it's our job in post-production to go back in and replace all of those backgrounds, and we do it in full surround. And so a lot of people think that what you're seeing on the screen was recorded on the set. It's not that way at all. It's totally recreated later. And then you also have sound design, and those are like the really cool sounds, that I like to call it. Those transition effects and flashbacks and the whooshes and things that kind of help enhance. So that's like the really cool stuff. But backgrounds is surprisingly effective. When I first started feature film work, I was kind of known as the backgrounds guy. And the reason is because I guess apparently in my first film I did pretty well on the backgrounds, and then it became, oh, you're on the backgrounds for this film. Oh, you're on the backgrounds for this film. And it's like, hey guys, I can do guns, I can do explosions, I can do vehicles, I can do spaceships. And it's like, no, we're going to have you on backgrounds on this. And I finally did get to break out of that. But, because on my other friends, they're doing guns and everything, and they take their dates to the movie and say, hey, what do you think of the gun sounds? What do you think of the spaceship sounds? It's like, oh, that was really good. It's like, that was all me. Oh, that's so cool. And I'm like, I take my wife to the movie that I worked on. It's like, did you hear that bird? It's like, it's all me. Yeah, that's good, honey. So let's talk about backgrounds, because it's like one thing I started learning, and it became a really important thing that I didn't realize until I really started getting into backgrounds and how it actually affects things. So once again, music creates emotion, but it's not the only thing. And dialogue isn't the only thing that tells a story. So let me show you some things that might surprise you a little bit. What I'm going to do first is play you just a benign piece of music. I mean, it takes you nowhere. It's just something to lay a kind of a foundation. Okay, maybe you have some picture in your mind already, but that basically goes nowhere. It doesn't make you positive or negative or anything. All right, so let's add just two very simple elements, some birds and a little bit of wind. Now, you start to develop a picture in your mind, okay? It's starting to tell a story. Now, here's the interesting thing. Let me just change out the birds with different kinds of birds and add a few insects and see how it changes the story. See, it kind of turns a little bit darker, doesn't it? And that's amazing, because that's just birds and insects. Do you think of that? You know? All right, now I'm going to add one more element. It's like the cool stuff we talked about. One little element of sound design to help enhance that. Okay, so that adds a little more. Now, the problem is, the music isn't really working so much anymore. I mean, we've steered the story with just birds and with insects and a little bit of elements. Now, when you take the music, and we'll swap that out, and it all kind of comes together. Okay, so those are just very, very simple things that help steer your emotions, help steer where things are going. You paint a picture in your mind. When you put that with visuals, then, things really get crazy. So the next thing I want to cover is sometimes less is more. And a lot of times backgrounds can be overwhelming, and it actually takes away from the story. So it's like one of those very careful things that you have to do, because, for instance, this background here, it can get a little irritating. It's pretty busy, and it's like it can start to take away from the dialogue that might be happening, that kind of thing. And one tip that anybody recording, especially in Florida, if you like to record backgrounds and things, if you want to record birds, crickets, frogs, that kind of thing, wait till it gets cooler. Because in the middle of summer, that's the kind of track you're going to get, and you can't do a thing with it. So this is the kind of track you'll get if you try to get individual sounds. Now, dialogue can work with this, because this is a little more, everything's light, things are spotted, you can kind of add cool things in with that. Now, let's add one kind of emotional element that a lot of people don't think of when this background is happening. And maybe that emotion could be loneliness. Just a little thing like a train horn can add that sense of alone and, that kind of feeling. So it's like these little sounds that can just change everything with just backgrounds. So let's talk about a little bit about authenticity of sound. Now, I have a brother-in-law, and just to give an example, He talks all the time about, in that show, they used a Chrysler starter on that Honda car, and it drives him nuts, okay? And that's really true. Nothing can take you out of the story more than, that sounds wrong. And it's like trying to be very careful with that kind of thing. But what happens when the sound doesn't exist? Then what do? That's another kind of authenticity, because people they want to believe. So think, for instance, dinosaurs. They don't exist anymore. So how do we create those sounds? We have to make it up, basically. I was fortunate working with Falcon's creative group. We did a really cool project over in Dubai called Lost Valley. And it was a lot of animatronics of dinosaurs, and it's a dark ride that you go through. And my task was to create all the sounds for the dinosaurs. And so first of all, it just took some research. And what I did was, this is just a very small part of a spreadsheet, that first of all, how big is the animal compared to a human? You see that last one is that's a little scary. And then the top one, he's like a little pig-like thing, but he's like a small dog. So based on this kind of thing, you can start to get an idea from other animals. What might this sound like? So let's start with this guy. He's kind of a little bit rhinoceros looking, but a little bit different on the beak and that kind of thing. And so let's listen to him. And so he wasn't available to record at the time, so basically I just used an elephant. This guy, he's a little bit ostrich looking, although he's got a little bit of a raptor kind of body, but it reminded me of an ostrich, so it's kind of bird-like and everything. Let's take a listen to him. So he also wasn't available, so we went with the monkey. One more. This guy is a little bit raptor-like. He looks a little scary, so wanted to give him a little bit of intensity. So that ended up being also an elephant, but an angry elephant. And the cool thing about elephant, there's so many elements with just the elephant alone, because they have so many vocals, depending on their mood and what's going on. It's like a lot of the big, deep, gruff sounds can be an elephant, because they can get some really great low end. So that's when the sounds don't exist. And then we get into kind of fantasy. And I ran across a quote I heard one time, and it stuck with me, and it's true for sound. People don't care about the truth, they just want to believe. And it really is true with sound, also with politics and religion. But with sound, this is actually really true. Falcon's worked on this project in Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, called The Battle for Ire. And they designed a character, this guy. He's actually really small, because basically this is a good fairy that's gone bad. He's called a slua. So in just looking at him, it's like, I think I know the sound to use for this. And here it is. And so the voice talent I chose was this little guy. Now, pugs are the most awesome things, because you can have 10 pugs and every one of them sound totally different, but they're all crazy, I mean, it's just amazing. So also, they did some character design on these little baby dragons for another project. And it's like, well, they're really cute. They're a little bit mischievous. They're little guys, too. And it's like, I think I know what sound to use for these guys. And my voice talent was this guy, which is actually my own little Yorkie. The reason his tongue's sticking out is because he was old and he lost his front teeth and he has nothing to hold his tongue in with. And these are the sounds that he would meet me at the door with when I'd come home from work. It's like, I've got to use that. And it fit very well. So basically that's storytelling with sound, finding the appropriate sounds, making things work, making it believable. And that's pretty much I have for you. I really thank Blooloop and especially Rachel for the invitation. And thank you all for your time and listening.
We want to thank the Avixa team, the producers of InfoComm, for allowing us to use this recording. Rick, I also want to just thank you for, one, giving this presentation, and two, coming and introducing it for us.
Yeah, as I said, it was a great honor, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, it sounded like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can catch our normal episode feed on the last Monday of every month. You can also stay tuned for any upcoming special event episodes that we might have. Want to give a quick reminder that you can shoot us any comments or questions at podcast@falconscreativegroup.com. And beyond that, I think we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
This has been Experience Imagination. For more information about this episode's discussion, be sure to visit our blog at falconscreativegroup.com. And don't forget to follow Falcons Creative Group on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.